How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the Z Garage, and this week we're going to be rebuilding our power steering pump. So if you don't know, the Z31 takes automatic transmission fluid for its power steering fluid, and I didn't know that when I first got my car, and I put in regular power steering fluid, and that can actually be corrosive to the seals in the pump and the rack. So I got my rack rebuilt at RockAuto when that was still a service that was available. I don't know if it's available anymore, unfortunately. But my pump has not been updated or refreshed or anything. So I went ahead and bought a repair kit on RockAuto. I think it's a Gates brand, so it should be fairly high quality. And we're going to go ahead and rebuild the pump this week. So your power steering pump is right here. We're going to come around the back, and there are a couple of bolts to take it off. The first one is this guy right here. It's like a pivot bolt. It's a 14 millimeter. And then the other one is that guy right there. This is the tensioner lock or adjuster bolt, whatever you'd call it. So we're going to go ahead and leave this on for a second because we need to go ahead and break some bolts loose. These four on the back here, there's actually one back there that's hard to get to. So we're going to do these three. We're going to break these loose. These are 14 millimeters. And then I've already removed mine, but there is an additional two 12 millimeters right here to take this piece off. There's an O-ring behind it that comes in the kit, so might as well replace it. So like I was saying, the one that we can't get to is back there. So we'll go ahead and crack these three loose, and then we'll take it off and then get the fourth one. We'll just, I don't know, step on it while we push on it, something like that. And then we should be good to go ahead and start rebuilding this. So it looks fairly straightforward, doesn't look too hard. Here's what the kit has inside of it. So we've got a couple new crush washers, a little circlip, some seals, of course, and then I think that's a bearing. It's kind of hard to tell. So nothing really too complex in this rebuild kit. Should be very straightforward and easy. So I'm going to go ahead, take this off, and we'll jump right into it. All right, guys, so we got those four bolts out, and now this cover just pops up. I kind of hit it a few times, but you can see it's starting to separate here. So we'll go ahead and just pull this up carefully. And you can see here are some of these seals that we can go ahead and replace. That one's easy to get to. See if this guy cracks apart a little bit. Yep, and there's another seal we can replace. Nope, sorry, I don't know if you guys can see that. So we're going to want to make sure that the orientation of this is noted. So I don't know, we're going to make some mental math. I guess these dowel pins mean that it has to go in a certain orientation. We wouldn't be able to flip this over, otherwise it wouldn't fit. So that is good. We'll go ahead and replace both of those seals. And now, I don't really know too much about this. This is the first time that I've been replacing anything like this. So it looks like we've got some little blades in here. So we're going to want to be careful not to lose them. It looks like this guy fell out. So we'll go ahead and carefully put him back in. And then just kind of, keep an eye on the rest of these guys as well. I'm assuming that is the pump mechanism. So I'm going to go ahead, clean up these two pieces real quick, and then we'll jump into the rest of this. All right, guys, so it looks like the next step on this part here, there's actually a very small circlip that goes around this shaft right here. Looks to be the one that gets replaced in the kit. So I've got a small, I've got a small flat blade here, and I'm just going to work it around. I don't know if you guys can see this that easily. I kind of started on it earlier, and it worked pretty well. You just got to get the flat blade underneath and pop the circlip up. Obviously, this is a little bit easier if you have some circlip pliers. I do have a set, but I'm just pretending that I don't in case you guys don't as well. So this is going to take me a second, and we'll jump forward to when I get to this clip off. All right, I don't know if you guys can see this that well, but I did start getting the clip up, and we'll just work it around until it comes off. Looks like that, if you guys can see. There we go. So I'll set that aside for now. I do believe it gets replaced, but we just want to make sure in case we need to use the old one. See if this guy will pop up now. No? See if anything... Okay, so it looks like the shaft is popping forward. All right, so it's splined. Okay, so there's just a lot of suction on this. Again, make sure you don't lose any of these fins. Looks like they like to come off. So we'll push these all back into place really gently. Set these off to the side for now. And then continue to take the shaft out. So there we go. Front pulley is off. Here's the back side. I did take those two dowel pins out. I don't remember if I mentioned that. They just pulled right out. And then let's look at the front. Looks like this is a seal. This is the seal that we're going to be replacing. I think it's a bearing. It looks like a bearing and a seal. And then nothing too crazy. So I'm going to go ahead and clean all this up with some brake clean, and then we'll go ahead and start to reassemble things. All right, guys. Well, I had really good success getting this little pressed-in sleeve out. I was kind of concerned it was going to take a lot of effort, something really hard to get. What I ended up doing is taking a flat blade. It was in here like this. I slipped it below the sleeve, and then just hit this really hard, and it popped it up and out. Super easy. Just make sure you don't push this in too far. It's not at a weird angle, and you don't like damage anything. But once that's out, we can go ahead and clean up this face here. This is looking really good, guys. I think that we are really close to being reassembled. It's really not that complicated of a system. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this up, a little bit more brake clean. And then when we go ahead and do reassemble this, we're going to go ahead and slather everything in some more ATF. So it is lubricated when we go ahead to start it up. Because we don't want this to be running dry. We want to make sure that this has something in it to lubricate. So I'm going to go ahead, clean this up with a bit of brake clean, and then we'll start with the reassembly of the seal out here. We're just going to get a socket the same size and tap it in. Should be straightforward and simple. And then, of course, these are all just seals that go in super easily. So I'm going to go ahead, clean this up, and then we'll start reassembling some seals. All right, guys, so I got everything cleaned out, and you can see I've got the new seal right here. And then this is I think it's a 15/16 socket. It fits perfectly over the diameter of this. And then I've got a 1/2-inch wrench. I'm just going to tap this in pretty slowly. I really don't think it's going to take that much effort. Yeah, it really doesn't. So just kind of take your time with it. Make sure it's going in evenly. And then we'll just keep going until this gets flush to the top like the last one was. All right, guys, so this is looking really good now. Everything is nice and flush, just as it should be. I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is clean off the shaft of this real quick, and then we'll go ahead and put a little bit of ATF on it and slide it back through. Actually, I think I'm going to go ahead and clean up the rest of this face piece real quick. I should have done this without the seal. So if you had done this like me, clean all this grime and stuff off if you want to before you put the seal back in. That way you don't risk contamination. But I'll just make sure I don't get anything in there. But yeah, once I go ahead and clean all this off, then we'll go ahead, stick the shaft through, and work on the back side again. All right, guys, so I got the pulley back in here. I went ahead and put some ATF on it when I put it in. That way it wasn't tearing that seal. And then I went ahead and poured some ATF on this face here. We're going to go ahead and take this rotor and put it back on. These little dudes do like to fall out like that, so do be careful. You do want the rounded sides to go outwards if they fall out. They do have a direction, and that one likes to keep coming out, so we'll put it on later. So we'll get this back on here. Looking good. Let's go ahead and put this little piece back on. Again, the rounded side goes outwards. All right, just like that. Looking pretty good. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab the circlip from the new one from the kit, and we'll put it on this so that nothing else will come off, and this will be all locked together once again. All right, guys, so I was finally able to get this rotor back on. It took me a second because I actually had it upside down. One of the sides, it's actually kind of chamfered. That allows this snap ring to get down into it. So you want to go ahead and make sure you are using the correct side of the rotor. And then what I did is I held one side of the snap ring down with a set of needle nose pliers, one in the divot kind of like that on the end, and then I used a flat blade to push the other side up and over the lip. So that one worked pretty easily, pretty straightforward. I'm going to go ahead and coat this in some more ATF because obviously kind of rubbed a little bit off while I was working on it. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the seals in those other blocks, and then we'll go ahead and get this all back together. All right, guys, well, hopefully you saw that time lapse. We have everything back together now. It took me a second to figure out if those seals were directional or not, and it did not look like they were. To the best of what I could tell, they were, universal front and back and upside down and right side up. So I put them on here. It took me a second to figure out which direction the plate went. I just set it down properly, and then I picked it up, and then I completely forgot about it. But there's really only one direction that lets the dowel pins and this hole right here line up. So it should not be too much of an issue to get it all figured back out. And then of course I just slowly snugged each one of these 4 up until it was nice and tight. Well, snug, and then we go ahead and then retighten these down once more after I clean it because there's kind of a lot of ATF. But that's pretty much it, guys. This was really not that hard of a job to do. It's super easy to do at home with just common tools. So if you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. If I can find a torque value for these 4 bolts, I will find it and I will put it on the screen if I can. Otherwise, I'm just going to give them a nice good tighten because they were pretty tight to start with. And that's pretty much it, guys. So I hope this was as easy for you as it was for me. Really seemed to be pretty straightforward. So as always, guys, if you have any questions or comments, let me know, and then I will see you guys next time.